Good evening, everybody. I don't see myself on TV, so I'm assuming that we're on. But I'm Joe Delacruz. This is Born Political. My guest tonight actually is a young kid that when I was knocking on doors for the very first time, I shouldn't say I was elected before for town council and RTM, but I was going as a state rep. And really got to meet a lot of people. I was very shocked to find a young person that wanted to meet me, though. When I knocked on the door, his father said, "Don't leave. That I have to come see you because my son wants to meet you." And that person today is someone that's going to be on the show tonight, running for office just about 10 years later from the day I met him for the very same position, not the same district, but the same position that I knocked on his door to explain why I wanted to help the town. And I can't be more proud or more happy. We're going to get to introduce Dan Gaiewski to all of you tonight. You probably should know him because he is your town councilor currently,
Yep.
right?
Yep. So your town councilor, having the honor to serve the people of Groton and now looking to serve the people of the 40th District.
Yeah, and I'm going to let you guys know on TV that we can't see ourselves tonight. So this is probably going to be better.
Oh yeah,
so
no,
we're just
gonna have a conversation. And it's gonna be fun, and it's gonna be just like old times and having a good old conversation between you and I.
Yeah, we're kind of used to that anyway. So, in any case, let's talk about the seat that you're looking for and to run. And before we even go into that, actually, let's talk about why. Like, I was shocked to see how excited you were as a young man because I didn't understand. I was never the guy that wanted to be in politics. I was supposed to be a pro athlete if everything went.
Oh, so was I. I was supposed to be the starting shortstop for the New York Yankees, but
that didn't work out.
No, that didn't work out.
That's all right.
I probably needed to grow 6 more inches, but politics. It just the story I always say is my sign to get into politics was an actual sign. I was 6 years old. And it was it was 2006, and Joe Courtney and Ned Lamont against Lieberman in that year. And there were just lawn signs scattered throughout town. And I asked my mom in the car, I said, what are those in the ground? And she's like, oh, those are lawn signs for political candidates. And I was just like, can we get one of those on our lawn? And that's how it started. And I saved every mailer.
You wanted to see your name in cardboard.
No, I didn't. I actually.
No, I'm kidding.
I didn't think I didn't know what it was, and I didn't realize it could be a career.
Yeah.
But this to me is. But then I learned in the whole public service aspect of it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh wait, I can actually make a difference.
Yeah.
And I can make changes for the betterment of my community, and that was something that just super excited me.
Yeah.
And being on the town council, it's so rewarding because you do it's just the little things. You're making a difference in somebody else's life.
Well, the thing I always refer to is when I first got elected to council, and I felt that at the RTM. I was like, wow, my neighbors entrusted me to come down here and be their voice, and it was a little bit empowering. I think everyone has an opportunity. In fact, there's empty seats on the RTM in Groton right now if you wanted to get involved.
District 4.
District 4 needs somebody.
You vote at Mary Morrison.
Yep. So if you want to get involved, you can do that way. But when I got on the council, I said, there's 40,000 people that live in this town, and not all are registered voters. Obviously, they have kids that don't vote, and some people that just don't register. But in the end, there's 40,000 people that have chosen you to make decisions for them, and it's humbling, I think. And I got to see you in action on a few different occasions, watching you on TV. We can watch these guys whenever we want on TV now. But to see the way that you've been able to handle yourself has made me proud.
Yeah. I learned from one of the best.
Oh, you did. You're talking about Chris Comey, right?
Yeah, totally.
but really, you've made some decisions up there, and you have to interact with other people.
Oh yeah.
It's not as easy as everyone thinks it is. You have 9 counselors with 9 different personalities, agendas, reasons why they're there, and you have to make all that mesh together. And I've seen you be able to do that at that level. That's what given me the confidence to make, to be behind you 100%, knowing that you're going to go to Hartford and do the same thing.
Oh yeah, and it's really just, before I ran for office, sometimes I'll get a lot of flack of being a young person and holding office, but I've been involved since I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
So I didn't run for office. I was involved for 8 years before I actually ran for office, and now I've been involved for 9 years. So I'll be involved for 9 years of like the process, and that's more experience than most people when they
Well,
first
it's
run
way,
for.
way more. You're
Yeah.
you're in a lot better shape than I was when I went there. You understand how Harvard works.
Yes. And I work
mechanically.
I work up my job as
Yeah.
I'm as the official title is a constituent engagement coordinator for the House
Yeah.
Democratic Caucus, which is basically the fancier term for legislative aid.
Yeah.
So right now what I do is I help reps handle their kind of day-to-day operations. So I
Yeah.
have 3 reps I'm assigned to, and I help them with their day-to-day operations, and then I will just be, if elected and given the honor, I will be moving from a cubicle to an office.
Yep.
So
In the same building,
in
doing
the
a
same
lot
building,
of the same work.
same building, doing a lot of the same work, but on this end, I'd actually be doing something for my hometown and giving
Absolutely.
back to the community that gave me
Yeah.
so much. And that's just, if that just the honor and the goosebumps of that just
Yeah.
makes me feel like good inside. And my campaign is completely local focused. I'm focused on the education cost sharing formula for Groton and New London, the expansion of electric boat, and helping our veterans and kind of lowering costs for families. The veterans issue just being, with the Navy base and so many people retire here, it's something that's, I'm very mindful of and
I
very
want to go.
important.
I do want to touch base on your age, your youth, and when people ask me, well, Joe, isn't he young? And I've heard this before, and really, to me, if you look at our Declaration of Independence, it's signed by some very young people.
Very.
Right. and if you I had the to me the once in a lifetime chance to go down and see the State of the Union address.
Yep.
And to look down in the well of the House and see the amount of gray and white hair that actually makes all the votes and for our country. And this is not ageism. This is not me saying reverse, but I think we could use youth. And I think having your perspective, I'm going to look forward to seeing how you navigate and how you work through it. But the youth part, I mean, you've experienced more in your life than I've never moved or lived anywhere than Groton and New London in my whole entire life. I graduated high school, went to work, got married, never lived anywhere else. You went to college.
I went to college.
Right?
I went to college in Pennsylvania. I graduated Franklin Marshall College with a bachelor's degree, a double major in government and American studies, which is political science and American history. It's just the liberal arts college version of it. They get to pick their own names for things because they think they're cool. But so I ended up going there. I ended up getting a very nice academic package. I ran cross country and track and field down there, and I got recruited there. That's how I found the school. But even when I was down there in Pennsylvania, I would occasionally do stuff in 2022 for Josh Shapiro and John Fetterman, who's now the governor and U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania. But I was making phone calls for people in Connecticut back here for the state legislative, and still because it was home to me, and I knew when I just interacting with voters that I knew was something that was rewarding to me. Yeah. And it was something that was more, I was like, I could, Pennsylvania, one of the most, it's always one of the most crucial presidential level and swing states for the federal level. But for me, I knew that I was going to come back home, and I knew that I could make a difference here in Connecticut, knowing where the tides were, even knowing where the tides were going to most likely turn. Yeah. So that was just something super rewarding to me on that end. But I got that educational background of the government and political science.
Really knowing how it works.
Having an education.
I had the benefit of getting elected the same year as Christine Conley did.
Yeah.
And Christine Conley, she didn't go to school for political science.
She was
history. So she had a very, very, very good understanding of how that room, how it all worked. I on the other hand, had my life experience, and I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew how to fight for my folks. I didn't know how to always apply it mechanically. And the fact that the mechanics of putting a bill together, and you're working for 3 legislators who, when he says it nonchalantly that he's responsible for 3 legislators right now, if you're up there and you understand the amount of calls, the amount of constituents that 3 legislators could bring you, and sometimes they break it up to give you a break because some people are super, super busy and some are not so busy, depending on what committees they're on. But there's a lot of stuff to answer for. You got to be right on top of your game. You're going to go in now with already this, to me, not just the work ethic, because we know you had that already, but the understanding, if that makes sense. I mean, I'm telling you how you probably feel.
No, one of the lines is, I'm the only candidate in this race that when I get up there, I'm not going to have to learn where to go to the bathroom. Like I know
Yeah.
where the bathroom is, and I
know
can't-
where all the bathrooms
I know
are
where
at
all
this
the
point,
bathrooms
right?
are at. And so just kind of going up there, and day one I'm going to be ready to have the conversations, and which makes me the most qualified candidate in this race is I have the town council experience,
Yeah.
so I know the local issues, I know what the needs are. And then I also have the experience in the state legislature of knowing what to do as a representative, and from the staff portion of it, and just kind of getting some of the toughest things you deal with as a legislative aide up there is dealing with a constituent that needs help,
Yeah.
and whether it's from some service, and you have to know who to call.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to think on your feet and handle it as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible, because some people are struggling, and you have to be able to help those people. So,
Yeah. And so when you do get up there, and you again, it's going to be some late nights, but
Oh,
you already know what to expect.
oh, I know what to expect. I know what I'm getting myself into.
You haven't been through the session. I think when I first got elected and they gave me my schedule, I said, I didn't know I had to quit my job to do that. In this case, you're going to have to quit your job.
Yep, I will. I've not, it's just, thank you. I remember on your retirement speech, you said this wasn't enough money, and you got, I believe, a 50% pay raise for the legislators, roughly.
From then to now, yeah, and over the course of time.
Over the course of time.
Yep.
So it was, I know many representatives are appreciative of it. I'll probably will be living paycheck to paycheck, but that doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Well,
you're young and you don't have a family.
Yeah,
The reason that I had fought for that raise was because I wanted people to have a voice, and you have the unique opportunity because you are young.
Yeah.
And you still have bills.
I still got bills.
And you're going to make it work, and
I'll
kind
make
of
it work.
patchwork it. I was in a position where it's like I'm thinking retirement and my kids in college.
Yeah.
So I was in a different position in life, and I wanted to make sure that if people do get involved, that they can at least live in the state they're trying to help legislate and make laws for.
Yeah.
And we haven't hit that point yet, but I think it's actually in the right direction now. But the 20 years without a raise was foolishness.
Oh, yeah. It was, I remember one of my colleagues was telling me that, because he asked me about it. He's like, so what do you, I'm like, I can live paycheck to paycheck on the salary. I'll be fine. I'll figure something else later in the future. People are asking me about that. But, when I first get up there, I'll most likely just, I want to serve my constituents the best. I'm going to focus on my constituents, and I'll take that sacrifice just because it's tremendous. One, because it's a tremendous honor, and two, it's something I really am passionate about and want to do.
And we also probably should make sure folks know is that you're new. This is a special election.
Yeah.
And for me, because I've been involved before, and most people don't realize it, is when you run, there's a program called Citizens Elections.
Yep.
And basically, you find people that want to support you. You need signatures and money, and then they give you enough money to run the race. And I think it's been wildly successful, popular on both sides of the aisle.
It's popular by both parties.
It really is.
It is one, it's been named kind of the crown jewel because it allows, keeps what they call dirty money, so big influencers out of the Connecticut elections.
Yep.
And it keeps everybody else on a level playing field. So it really does make you, as a candidate, put your ideas out there, show your resume, show who you are, and everybody's on that same level playing field. I was fortunate enough that I ended up getting the amount of contributions and signatures of those people who do contribute within 50 hours of actually putting in the effort.
I'm going to change the word you used.
Yep.
You said that you were fortunate enough to. Fortune is what you make on your own.
Yep.
You made calls.
Yeah.
You talked
No,
to people.
it was.
You inspired me enough to where I wanted to make sure I was one of the first owners as soon as your website went up.
Yep.
And I wanted to make sure I called people, let them know that you're running. And, as a person that had to raise the money, to know that you were able to accomplish this in 50 hours. And I don't know if you guys know what 50 hours is. It's the sun goes up, sun goes down, sun goes up again, it goes down, and you're there. And that happened over the weekend pretty much where and that just shows the belief that people have in you.
Yeah.
But it also shows that you made the phone calls because I can believe all I want. But if I didn't know you were doing this,
if it was like a general election year, most candidates take 3 to 5 months to do it, and to do it in 50 hours, it's just the nature of the special election that it has to be done putting in that work and doing that as efficiently. One, it shows traction in our campaign.
Yeah.
It shows the belief in me as a candidate, and it shows that I do have the support and I can do, and that people who are doubting because of my age, that there are people behind me, and there are people that know me, and that there are people that trust me to do this job effectively.
And now, for me being a former state representative, if any future state representative calls me at all, obviously I would help out. It wouldn't really matter. You pre-built in have my number, my text. You can at any time you can call me. But I just want to touch on a subject that people probably aren't aware of. Now, when you first get elected, before a session starts, you only have so much time to put in bills that are meaningful to you.
Yeah.
Ones that you hear from constituents. In the special election, you're not going to have that opportunity.
No,
right?
you are not. So in the House and Joint Senate rules, they have what they call a bill proposal deadline, for those watching at home. And what that means is the bill proposal, you can introduce bills, which are ideas of legislation that you want to see happen. You can do that between like end of December and end of January before what they call the long session of the legislature. And what happens is I think they hit over 4,000 bills just got proposed this cycle. And what happens is the legislative commissioner's office, who helps write the legislation in a statute, helps the legislators write in a statutory text. They put the idea into legal language. They do it all in that month, and then it goes to the committee process, and then it goes, after the committee process, it goes to a public hearing, and then it goes back to a joint favorable process, then it goes to the House. It's got 4 steps, but that time period, they do that because there are deadlines. It has to have a public hearing by this date. It has to have a committee discussion on it by this date. So there's certain deadlines already built into the calendar, and once it's past the calendar, bill can't go forward. So unfortunately for me, as the special election, I don't have the opportunity to put in certain things. So what I'm going to have to do, and I have the relationships to do this, is I'm going to have to make amendments to other legislators' bills, or I'm going to have to co-sponsor other legislators' bills. But you have to have those conversations with legislators, because you don't want to add something to somebody else's bill that they've put in. This is their idea, and when you add something into that, completely tank their original idea and kind of steal the show from it. So
that's the whole legislative process.
Yeah, it's
that happens bipartisan, right?
Oh yeah.
And so you have people, because I think that's what will surprise most people is in Connecticut when you're up there working, is Republicans and Democrats. There's going to be the stuff on the news, and they're going to take the craziest idea from each side, and then because that's what will make the news. But all the ideas in the middle that get talked about every single day of moving Connecticut forward, those don't really get the news because they're boring.
Oh yeah.
It's just making people's lives better a little bit at a time, or what you can do, but it's not like that one hot button issue. There is a hot button issue I want to talk about because I think it's really relevant, especially with the new administration in Washington. And I think the work that you're going to have to do for us, it's my number one priority. And I think you've mentioned it several times just hearing you talk about it. But with possibility of losing education funding just through the ECS that the state would get, but from the federal government, they're talking about allowing private school vouchers, and these are things that I think, although sound great on paper and almost sound like sensical, like where you'd say, well, if the person's going to St. Bernard's instead of Fitch, that they should get that $8,900 from the federal government. Yeah. Because, wow, this private school does it for cheaper. We know that, especially being on the council, the costs associated with public education are when someone walks in our door, it's our job to educate them.
Yep.
We don't pick and choose who we get like a private school may do. In fact, if somebody has special needs and needs extra help, the state doesn't start the town pay until it's 4.5 times the amount of, just say it was $10,000, you got to hit almost $50,000 in that scenario before the state even contributes a dime. Mm-hmm. Private schools don't deal with that. So I want to get that out there first. And I'm going to be talking about this on Gaiewski tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
This is my subject. Because so the only way we can really defend a cut from the feds is raising taxes in Connecticut, right?
There's different ways to do it. And I'm going to talk about Groton and New London in this too. So both are in the Alliance District program. So which means is that their education cost sharing money, they're held harmless. So and they have an MBR requirement on the local level. So it will stay stagnant. They're not going to be cut. Now, if they phase out of the Alliance District, then they could be cut. So where I'm real, so it could happen. You never know. Legislation can change. The Alliance District program could change. I'm not as worried about it this cycle. It's something that's definitely on my mind and definitely my major one concern if it ever does happen. And I'm staying on top of it and staying alert to it. But I think right now what we're seeing from the federal government is, we could be seeing a reduction in funds back from the federal government. And how that really impacts Groton and New London is the DODEA, which is Department of Defense Education Assistance, which pays for anybody in if your parents in the military or work in, I believe you also count if you work for Electric Boat or military associated. So getting those DODEA forms in really helps get the money. But if we lose that DODEA money from the federal government with all the cutbacks, that is going to be a major negative impact to our local school districts. So the question is the state of Connecticut going to supplement that funding? If so, where are they going to cut it from? Or are they going to get new sources of revenue? What are those sources of revenue? And then also, or is the state of Connecticut going to say, hey, no, we're not going to do this. It's on to the local municipalities, which will impact property tax dollars. Yep. So there's going to be a lot of give and take. There's going to be a lot of discussions. I know it's the first few days of the new administration, but we're seeing a lot of things that are happening. And it's kind of too early to tell of where that's in, but it's something you have to be 100% mindful of.
If you're paying attention to the what is coming out, in speeches, in rhetoric, listen, this is one. The whole I'm going to take over Canada and Panama. That was never on the campaign and debate trail.
No.
What was there was he was very adamant that he was going to give money to people who are homeschooling their children, right? But what everyone thinks that's going to save money for a public district. How does it not save money?
No,
Can you explain that?
What it does is it takes that money out of the public school district.
Yep.
And that child wasn't there to begin with. They were in a private school or they were being homeschooled. Exactly. So what happens is you see a reduction in your public school dollars, but you still have the same needs that you had to begin with. So this is why, and it's private schools, it's charter schools, it's homeschools. And I understand, parents having that decision, but what you're doing in that decision by going to those other options, and if you were to take the money out, you're hurting the public education system.
Yep.
And they're going to have to cut back, and it's not what's in the overall best interest of the community.
I think dollar and budget wise, when I was on the council and served, I remember the number being I think it was 300 students out of the 5,000 that we had that were attending private school or were being homeschooled. And if you applied that and said it was 10,000 a student that you'd lose, right?
Yeah.
That'd be $3 million out of the school budget in Groton the day they made the law. And my real worry, and this is what I think most people don't understand, is you would have folks that would say they'd send their kids to school that next day, and Groton would have to deal with it with either cutting services or raising taxes. And I think we're at a point now of affordability where I think they may lean towards cutting, maybe adding more kids to a classroom or what have you. But anything you do negatively that would negatively impact the school system, you're going to have those parents who are on the cusp of saying, you know what, my kid's not going to class with 50 kids.
Yeah.
My kid, we can't afford this, but we're going to put our nickels together. And now all of a sudden, we would take more money from the public schools and then these parents that would make that effort, to me, are the ones that are probably part of the booster clubs and the ones that are very active.
Yeah.
You start losing those parents and those kids, and now we basically, this is my analogy, and I'm going to tell Lee tomorrow, we're basically doing to education what AAU has done to Little Leagues.
Yeah. People
that can pay to play are going to get, the best of the best and play all over the country and fly and do these things, and Little League will absolutely suffer.
It's a lose-lose situation.
It is.
Because what's happening is you're deciding between residents' tax dollars and our children's education. And that's just, I realized that I wasn't a part of it because I had to recuse myself because my mom is an employee of the school district. But what happened I saw it. I saw, we're either going to see a huge increase in property taxes or we're going to cut back on the education. And my colleagues, I feel bad that I couldn't be part of the discussion. Because I felt like I was abandoning the team. But I understand the difficult of the amount of pressure that they were under to kind of balance between our children's education and respect to tax dollars, and it's just not a good situation to be in.
And you're going to see the 1,000-foot view now.
Oh yeah, no, I'm going to see the state version of it,
the state version, which is completely different.
And instead of angry parents yelling, "You're cutting my kid's education," or a couple of them, you're going to get inundated with thousands of emails.
And although that you're not taking my seat, because I was the 41st, Andre has mine now.
Yep.
And you took Chris's. That seat more reflected my voters were at Nathan Hale School when I was I had New London.
Yep.
And the one thing I do like about the representatives and how we get divided among other towns is the needs are very different between two towns, and you are forced to take a crash course in New London. And I think everybody out there should take a crash course in New London. It's one of my favorite towns, my hometown, baby. But I'm excited that you're going to represent them.
It's not that, and I really was, I was describing my district to somebody. So where I reside in the 5th district of Groton is kind of rural, kind of urban, little small, kind of country, little neighborhoods here and there. Then you have the 4th district, which is the military base and Long Hill Road, just at the end of it. It's industrial, it's hardworking. And then the 3rd district, which is the city of Groton. So you have the city of Groton with Electric Boat and Pfizer. You have big manufacturing, but it's also a city as well. And then you have the section of New London that I have is on the water. It's more neighborhoods, but it's still part of a big city in Connecticut, and it has those city issues. So and somebody said, you basically just described Connecticut.
Maybe America. I said my district was a reflection of America. And because there's areas that are extremely wealthy and then poor, and then manufacturing and country.
It's
awesome.
It's an awesome district to represent, and I am super excited to do it, and super excited to have an opportunity to put my name on the ballot. So gaining that support is my main focus these next roughly 4 weeks and talking to voters and hearing their issues, and have an idea of what they are, and I have some solutions for them, but hearing just a different perspective, because my perspective is
it's gonna be different.
We talk about life experience. My life experience is different from other people's life, and so that's really exciting. And I'm also not alone in doing this. There's other people who have come in a special election. There's other people, I'll only be if elected, I'll only be the youngest member by 2 months.
2 months.
So 2 months, that's about it. So there's other young people.
It's not even an older brother. They have to be 9 months older.
And it's the oldest member, I believe, is 85. I'd be the youngest member. I'd be joining the youngest member.
Well,
there'd be 2 of us at 24.
This is going to be the end of the show. We're done with a half hour, but I just want to thank you for everything that you've done, all the hard work you put in. And listen, this election is going to happen in February on the
February 25th. Polls are open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. if you vote in Groton at Mary Morrison School, District 4, City of Groton, which is the City Municipal Building in that portion. If you vote there, District 5, which is the School Administration Building on Flanders Road, and then if you vote at New London Nathan Hale School, those are the only residents that are eligible to vote in this election.
And we're done here, so you guys vote
February 25th.
Out February 25th. This is my
Tuesday.
endorsement of you, obviously.
Thank you. I
over
greatly
the top,
appreciate
and I thank everyone that does run for the office, but I am really rooting for you. If you're out there listening, this is Joe Dela Cruz. I'm here pitching my guy, Dan Gaiewski. Thank you for coming out, my friend.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you on the next time. Hopefully you're elected the next time.
Hopefully the next time, and then we can talk about the state, what I've been doing up at the state.